So this is basically the idea of a superorganism. The whole sum of individual agents are able to produce something that is much bigger than a single organism can even perceive. We are all familiar with different kinds of superorganisms. Take, for example, this one, and there are even superorganisms that are blending a lot of different species. Okay? So let's see if technology can fall on that definition. All right? There are a few qualities that needs to be taken into account in order for an organism to become a superorganism. We are all familiar with those terms, from self-regulation to never, individuality and constantly dynamic existence. These are the four qualities that describe a superorganism, and it goes from the lowest level to the highest level. Now, technology, generally speaking, probably is going through that same route of development or evolvement, if you wish. And I'll describe it in a very simple way. At the beginning, as a species, we looked around us and we saw a few things, and we started using those stones, if you wish, in order to achieve something, to kill or to cut, whatever. And then we started carving those tools to give those tools or those items some more characteristics. At the end, we started, bringing together different materials in order to achieve a higher level of efficiency in whatever we thought we are able to do with those items. At the end, all of us can see that we have developed things with which we are able, to shoot missiles from one end to the other end of the globe just with the one single button. So take a look what we have achieved in a matter of probably some few millennials of our evolution. Now, somebody knows how many parts in a car? It goes from 10,000 parts to 30,000 parts, and cars are becoming much, complicated items that humanity is developing. However, look, this is just a cell, one single cell that has developed in evolution with a lot of parts. Let's say there are at least 13 parts, only 13 parts in one single cell. But we have already developed now technologies that consist of thousands of parts. At the end, a city, if you wish, is a living superorganism with billions of parts that are concentrated together to bring life into action, to facilitate life, to do a lot of things. So bit by bit, humanity is bringing together a lot of technologies in order to achieve something that I would like to explain. But before I would explain the idea or the story or the myth that I'm trying to deliver here, let me stress what I'm not speaking about, okay? I'm not speaking about the idea that was conceived a century ago or something like that by Wells that was speaking about the world brain. Nowadays, it's not so hard to understand. All of us are having much bigger brains in our palms. That's not the idea I was speaking. I'm not speaking about the idea of Gaia, which is another concept that speaks about an organism, that the Earth is an organism that is constantly working with different parts, different other organisms to bring synergy into its existence in order just to survive, to continue its existence. I'm not speaking about another nice idea that was conceived here in France far ago, okay, about what we call the noosphere. The noosphere is a concept that speaks about the evolution of Earth from geosphere to biosphere to atmosphere and what we call the noosphere. Noosphere from French, nous, ensemble. Okay, that means we are all together adding layers to the existence of Earth. Now, the noosphere was conceived more spiritually, but nowadays it can be also applied to the technologies that we are surrounding ourselves nowadays with, that are going probably to enhance our understanding of nature, enhance nature itself, not just our understanding. I'm not speaking about the idea of singularity of Ray Kurzweil, which speaks about a synergy between the living cell and technology that will enhance the living cell itself. What I'm speaking about, also I'm not speaking about the concept of the connectome. Connectome is actually now the buzzword in science that speaks about clarifying, understanding how the brain is being wired, the diagram of the neurons with which our brain is able to conceive nature and express itself, etc., etc. I'm speaking about a different idea, a different story, that if we will be able to tell that story in a very interesting way, we will be able to understand the position of new disruptive technologies in our life and be able to understand or conceive new ideas of other technologies that will be added into our surrounding and enhance the evolution of this species in history. I'm speaking about what we call a super machine, a superorganism. If you wish, imagine a city 5,000 years from now. It will probably look like that. A convergence of living cells with animals, with plants, with technologies that will form a clean and efficient environment in which the intelligence, if you wish, that is being evolving on Earth for millennia will express itself. At this point, we are that intelligence that has been evolving, but this intelligence is adding features to its existence, and it's enhancing, enlarging that intelligence, not just to the human being, also to almost everything that will be surrounding all of us. Nowadays we call it IoT, tomorrow we'll call it something else, and probably 500 years from now it will be totally different technologies that will be developing, but it will be probably part of something bigger that is in the making. Okay, now by bigger I mean really big, when we are just at the beginning of developing big things. Okay, just take a look at how massive is the growth of data that humanity is generating and need to spread across our environment. We are just at the beginning of even calculating those numbers, exabytes and zettabytes, in a matter of a decade at most. We'll be speaking about geobyte and brontobyte, just to make, to give you some sense of how huge are the amount of information that humanity is collecting, and will need to deliver, will need to make sense of it. Just think about that. It's only 5 exabytes. if you consider all the words that humanity has been spoken from, from the beginning, it's only, you can put all those words in 5 exabytes. And nowadays, in a matter of just a decade from now, we'll be able to gather, to deliver large amounts of data and information to different things that we are just at the beginning stage of developing. Now, this is a nice chart. I don't have time to explain it, but this is what we call the MIPS. This is the exponential growth of our computing power. Now, if you extrapolate this computing power, it means that by 2025, at best 2030, humanity will have a gadget such as this that will cost $1,000, and its computing power will be like the computing power of one single human brain. A computing power of a single human brain, as far as we know at this stage, is about this, something like this. However, if we continue developing our computing power, then by 2060, about 40 years from now, and it's not a lot, okay, humanity will have a gadget such as this that will cost $1,000 and will have the computing power of the minds of the whole humanity, about 10 billion people in one single device. That's the computing power. Now, if you add to it that we need to deliver huge amounts of data through that computing power, then we need a different infrastructure to be able to do it. And this is what we are trying to understand, what kind of infrastructure we need to develop. Every few years, we have a new buzzword. But if we put those buzzwords in a context, within a story we tell ourselves, then we will be able not only to understand the historical context of what we're doing, but to generate new ideas, how even to understand nature. Now, all of you are familiar with the term paradigm. All our understanding of nature is not reality. This is, that's what people used to think very long ago. We are just, developing ideas, understanding of nature based on our understanding of ourselves. This is what we call, generally speaking, a scientific paradigm. So nowadays, the lighting paradigm is such and such. A decade or 2 decades from now, we will have a different paradigm. These are stories we tell ourselves, and we try, of course, to see if those stories are reliable with a lot of tools with which we measure our stories. Now, think about a living brain, and think about just the internet, that the infrastructure or the idea that we are all familiar at this point in our evolution. We have already 1.7 billion internet sites. But by 2020, just a year or a couple years from now, we're going to connect 26 billion new items, new things to that internet, and we need to connect those things together, share information between those things, and make sense of a new environment that will enhance our intelligence. Now, how do we do it? We need new ways to connect. We need new ways to deliver that intelligence across our environment. If you wish, it looks like a human brain, but the human brain does not double itself every 18 months. Only our technologies are doubling itself in 18 months. Our brain probably is a finite, if you wish. It's not so finite, but it's a finite organism. However, the technologies humanity is developing are not finite in terms of their capabilities, if you wish, or immensity, if you wish. Okay, now I'll explain it in a different way. Some people say that, Gaia is the geosystems that we are all aware. Humanity has added a new layer, how this surrounding this planet is evolving, and probably a new superorganism is engulfing what humanity has been doing in the last millennia. Now, if you are to take a look at the generation time frames, in nature took eons for every generation to develop, billions of years sometimes. Humanity measures its development rate or pace by centuries. Technologies are being measured by a few months, and we have entered a stage in which, if we think that something will develop, a decade from now,